Hey everyone, Sinix here again, and I'm back with another sketchbook tour video. You guys seem to enjoy the first horrible one, so we can try again. And we're going to pick up right where we left off. So I believe in this sketchbook I am actually 22 years old? Maybe 21? Either 21 or 22 in this sketchbook. So I'm becoming more of an adult. It's not going to be all childish little robots and boats, hopefully. I don't actually know for sure what all is in here, but we're going to hope for the best. Starting off with page 1, looks like we got a little dedication at the top. Show you fucking care. That's good. That's a nice thing to write. Okay, I can already tell where this sketchbook is going, aside from random boobs and things. I think I was really copying a lot of art at this time. And I mean, just like anytime I saw an interesting drawing on the internet or anything, I would just try to recreate it in my sketchbook. So a lot of this stuff, while I was starting my little journey on conceptart.org, I never posted any of this stuff, obviously, or any stuff that was like a copy of another artist, because that's not something you would post. You wouldn't post like the studies of other artists and be like, check out my studies, guys. But you're going to see a lot of that in the sketchbook. Just know that if you see something awesome, once again, it's probably not mine. I can't really take the time to remember every artist that's referenced in here, so I'm sorry about that. But just keep that in mind. There's going to be a ton of stuff that's not mine, and eventually, as I get a little more confident in just drawing in general, you'll see things start to progress, and eventually it'll be a lot more of my stuff, a lot less of just copying cool stuff I saw. So we got some, looks like I was going back into an anime phase here. Sometimes I'm trying to, it looks like, adjust them slightly or make them more original. What else we got? Tanzania, there's a little penny arcade guy and another little Joan Vasquez, a little remnant of the Joan Vasquez stuff. I don't think there's going to be that much of it carried on throughout this stuff, though. You can't draw faces, which is true. I agree with that. Very good observation, me. It says, draw a face. You can't. Well, that's true. I guess I was very hard on myself, but that was fine because I was just drawing a ton. So what else we got? More studies? No, we got some mildly original stuff. We got some of my characters from the dumb little comic you might have seen in the last one, the little girl with the horns, and the guy, and the what's nots, and the boring gun still. So I guess there's still a lot of continuation on from the last book, but nonetheless, I think we'll get a little bit better. I still got this like super skinny, lanky looking characters everywhere. That was kind of my personal style for everything. What else we got? Looks like some more references to other artists. This one's definitely another artist. Is that a Bengal? It might be a Bengal. Some other copies, other artists, probably people on conceptart.org. That's definitely some Naruto stuff. That's got to be original because it sucks. That's how you know it's original. If it's bad enough, it's original. Looks like I was trying to make up some cool signatures. That didn't work out that well. Girls' phone numbers, skipping that. Bunch of eyeballs. Trying different eye styles, I guess. That's not... okay. What's this? We got some notes about cool pens and things to try buying. So I think I was getting more into... It looks like there's a little industrial design stuff. I think that was copied from, who knows, maybe Scott Robertson or Feng Zhu or something. One of those people that was around back then. This looks like the maybe disguise stuff. Oh, I remember now. At this time, I started getting very into Haradaya. It's Haradaya. But no, he's the artist that did the concept art for Disgaea. And I was really into his art for a while. It was kind of cool. Yeah, okay, you can see a ton of Haradaya stuff here. So like this little girl, that was one of his original characters. You can see her everywhere. This little girl with the bow and the things. That was a really good character. So those are just studies of his art. Once again, nothing interesting. But you can see that I was also discovering Feng Zhu at this time because look, environment thumbnails. A little more productive, a little more traveling into the world of concept art. So once again, pages like this, hopefully every artist has them in their sketchbook. I would like to think that every artist spends a lot of time just doing copies of cool art they see. But you'll probably never see it because, once again, why would you share this with anyone? That's a little, once again, Herodaya, little Disgaea character, I believe. More Naruto. Apparently, just loving all the Narutos. But maybe you can see that even though I'm doing a lot of copies, my copies are getting a little better. Maybe I'm getting a little more line quality going on, or just a little more confidence in the way I'm rendering these copies of better artists. Pac-Man 23. I know that artist. So a lot of things like that. And this was a very exciting time, I think, in general, because every page, it's going to be me discovering a brand new artist, which is a really great feeling. I love just finding out about new artists. You get to look through all their work, and suddenly you're super inspired, and you're, making little copies to see what you can learn from it. So let's see, what do we got? Oh, this is some of my original character guy. And this one, too. I remember this one. I threw this in an environment with the other guy who made a nice little painting out of it. I was pretty happy with that work. So in between all these little Kakashis from Naruto, we have some ideas for original character stuff thrown in. This was supposed to be male character, female character. They went on like an adventure in a land that was very similar to Naruto, except there were guns and stuff everywhere. It was more about guns, but it was like set in this feudal looking world with lots of foresty stuff and villages. It's lame. It's just Naruto with guns, people. I'm sorry. I can't pretend I'm a good writer. I was just writing Naruto with guns. So what else do we got? More faces of this character, this silly male character. More Pikachu for some reason. More of the female character. So the female character has this dumb hair. I think that was inspired by Herodaya. And the male character just looks like any generic, slightly anime character. But nonetheless, I feel like my poses were getting a little bit better, but the faces are struggling. My personal faces, they're looking a little cruddy still. And I think that was because I was suffering from what I will deem slopey face syndrome. And that's when you draw too much anime and all your faces slope in from the forehead. The forehead's too slopey and they slope back the other way. So it just forms a kind of a triangular shape. And a lot of people that come from an anime background, have drawn lots of anime, they have that problem. Which is one of the reasons where I made that little drawing faces from any angle thing and talked about the paper technique, because that forces you to really flatten that front line of the face and you'll stop having all those slopey features going on. But anyway, what else do we got? Let's see. This looks like more characters for this little Naruto with Guns world. I can kind of tell they kind of have a similar kind of even look to characters from Naruto, but I don't know, they're like slightly sluttier apparently. They got a lot of that mesh stuff. Little expressions over here. Once again, I don't know if that's the best thing, but I guess expressions are a little more useful than just drawing eyes, because that feels kind of silly. Got some copied stuff, but I feel like there's a little more original stuff going on. It's starting to infiltrate more often, more original creations, even though they're kind of ugly. I'm mixing them in a lot more. So what do we got? More nudity and boobs, but it looks like some photo, possible. Yeah, I think these are some photo studies going on. So it looks like I'm slowly transitioning into a slightly more realistic phase. Very slowly, very hesitantly. But I'm at least going back and not giving up on the idea of doing photo studies and actually getting a little better at realistic anatomy and faces. Luckily, I kept with it, and I started working on it more. There's just lots of butts and boobs on these pages. I don't know what to say. Let's see. Clothes are worthless if you can't draw a body. Is that what that says? That is what it says. Because there's no point in learning to draw clothes if you can't draw a body. So there's a lot of just, random anatomy type practicing, trying to understand stuff. Not really worrying about clothes. There were plenty of nudity. Sorry, everyone. Okay, what else do we got? Ooh, apple, banana. Couldn't have said it better myself. So it looks like I was really trying to become more of a professional artist. At least that's the only reason I can think of to why you would see an apple and a banana in a sketchbook. That shows that you're really trying. You're not even drawing anime apples and bananas. You're trying to draw realistic ones. Yeah, I like that little study. I don't remember the artist, so I'm a little sad about that. But what is all this nonsense? 8.8 point something? I don't know. Apparently I was going through a lot of weird ideas for how anatomy can be formed. But that's good. It's good to experiment a little bit. I don't know what this 8-point anatomy thing is. I'm sure I thought of 1,000 different ways to break it down, or maybe I saw this somewhere. I don't really know what it means. So either something I thought up or something I saw, but I experimented with a ton of different ways to get better at anatomy and different theories that might help me improve, and it's just really going crazy with it. Anyway, what do we got here? More experiments, trying to do a little industrial design. Once again, throwing on unnecessary spikes onto everything. I don't know if those will show up because they're very tiny ones. But that's typical industrial design beginner syndrome, where you just throw on too many little wingdings just flying off everything in every direction. You don't know how to edit and simplify. So if you're an artist and you're working on getting good and you're experimenting with industrial design, just keep that in mind. Learn from this mistake. Try to edit things down into just simple, basic shapes without a lot of things tacked on that don't really mean anything. What else we got? What's the next page? It looks like more studies of things. Lots of terribles, lots of what the Fs, lots of just hating on myself, as only artists do. But it looks like, I feel like some of these studies are getting a lot more better in their rendering technique. Like, there's so much more subtlety going on with stuff like this than there was with anything in the last sketchbook. There's just a much better control going on, so I guess all of this copying of better artists is slowly starting to pay off. Weird ones, the bad ones, obviously probably mine. Oh, here's nothing embarrassing at all. Just trying to learn some Japanese up in here. It looks like I wrote the entire katakana and hiragana alphabet. Just the standard stuff that all 22-year-old guys do. You know, when you're not going out on a hot date, you're just practicing your Japanese alphabet. So I guess, you know, it's nice. I was trying to better myself, or just being a giant weeb. Who knows? You pick. You decide the answer, and I'll just agree to it. Back to the dynamic 8-point anatomy drawing system. Ugh, this is just all over the place. I actually remember this. This was a little animation. If you put each of these frames together, it forms a little animation. I was pretty proud of that animation too. It actually looked decent when I animated it, at least at the time. I like this. I like that I'm using this more graphical elements in my art. That's definitely a big improvement. A lot of people need to get in the habit of experimenting around with graphic elements in their art. I kind of like how this looks now that I look back at it. I should have stuck with all this Japanese text stuff, as weeby as it is. I kind of like the raw appeal of just drawing something and having some boxy languages kind of worked into them. And I think I'm becoming a slightly better artist by this time. All that conceptart.org is slowly starting to infiltrate my brain. There's still some more anime stuff, but at least it's kind of going away, slowly but surely. Here's a little pirate ship sailing through a little cave thing. Not a cave, it looks like just a rock formation. Archway. So that's cool, I guess, right? More nonsense. Trying to figure out profile views are still killing me. Gotta be honest with that one. Slopey faces everywhere. So that'll take a long time to get rid of, I'll be honest. It probably goes on for multiple sketchbooks. And more, I don't know, these look like studies of sexy ladies, and I even put a sticker on this one. And I know some of you are asking, why do some boobs have stickers and some boobs don't? I think it's just because some just feel like too sexualized in some way. Like, let's see, what's under there? Yeah, see, it just feels, what's the point of putting it on if you're gonna take it off? No, it just feels like it's too, I don't know, it's like sexualized nudity. Not just simple, basic art studies like this where you're just practicing proportions. But I'm pretty sure, well, I know for sure that one's copied from a drawing. I wouldn't have thought that up. A nice Good boy. I wouldn't think of anything creepy like that. Let's see. Weird characters, butts. Not the best butts. Weird, slightly sexualized stuff. I don't know, man. It's the sketchbook. There's plenty of embarrassing things in here. That one's not original. That's more Naruto stuff. But some of these, yeah, it's getting more often it's becoming original. Just a couple of these. I don't think those are original, though. Man, really disappointing myself. Should have pushed it a little farther. Oh, okay, this is a great time. It looks like I finally discovered Samurai Champloo. Or maybe, I think this actually just started airing at the time. It was a really big deal. I was a big fan of Cowboy Bebop, so when that came out, everyone was excited. And it was amazing art. You are infinitely better than this. That's good advice, me. Thank you, me. I guess I was writing to my future self, because now I do feel infinitely better than this. Alright, what else do we got? It looks like some hand studies. This guy's smelling his finger. That doesn't look original. Some of this stuff looks original, though. I can tell because of how dumb it was. This was an idea for a silly story or something? It was about a girl and a big black cat thing. I don't remember it exactly. I don't think it had a real point. But, yeah, some of those are more original ideas. Yeah, oh, that slopey face, though. That is the slopiest of slopey face syndrome. That's a little bad. It's getting a little bad, but oh well. She had a pet cat, and it was a giant, simplified, Japanese-looking black cat. So that's kind of fun, right? Maybe. Maybe not. I feel like I was way too into Naruto. I don't really remember being this into Naruto, but damn, there's a lot of Naruto art going on. I gotta be honest. It's looking a little crazy with the Naruto stuff. These look like copies. What else we got? Some butts. Hey, some Akira Kurosawa copy. That's progressive. Watching better movies. Definitely copy. Probably copies. Who knows? Alright, so as we move on, it looks like we still got some original stuff going on. I'm still obsessed with that one-eyed girl and her guy friend who's like her traveling companion. Once again, Naruto with guns. Although he is starting to look a little bit too much like Mugen from Samurai Champloo. Now that I look back at it, I'm like, man, he just looks like Mugen with different hair. And that's kind of lame. Oh well, that's how art brains work when you're young. Your ideas are always a little too close to just copying everything else. You're not quite original enough. Everything's a little bit too derivative. So that's kind of disappointing. Hey, look, there's more Mugen studies. This must have been once it finally came out, because I think some of the other stuff was like previews before the show ever came out. But this looks like the show finally came out, and I was doing like studies of stuff from the intro, and really having a lot of fun. I actually like these pages a little bit more. I feel like I was focusing a little bit more on shadow shapes and getting nice edges to everything. So a lot of these shadows, they feel like a lot more controlled, a lot more confident. They have a darker edge around the outside of the shadow shape, which I always personally love. I'm still a big fan of that. So I guess I discovered that around this time, because I didn't see that used much before here. But yeah, outlining your shadows and then just kind of filling them in. It has a really nice appeal to it. That's some good perspective going on, but it's just a copy drawn of Kimimari. I don't know what these names are. There's an original kind of Naruto guy. He's got two little spear things. That's how you know he's extra cool. This was way before he ever actually did two things, so I really prophesized that. Okay, what else do we got? There's Gaara. He's, a Naruto thing. A bunch of other characters. More Mugen. I really love the shape of the gestures in that show. I probably should go back and watch it sometime. I'm long overdue. I would probably get a lot of good stuff out of it. Anyway, more drawings of girls with boobs out. I don't know what's going on this page. There's a weird robot girl. I think that's a robot girl. This one's a robot girl. Based on something I think I saw, some kind of Mega Man girl. I can't remember where that was from, but it looks like I was basing it on that and just kind of exploring it a little more. What else do we got? girls with boobs and things. Once again, a lot of belts and boobs. I blame Final Fantasy, personally. Being raised on these degenerate games, clearly I was just enticed into putting belts on everything. Some of this stuff's leaning more toward original. I'm exploring surface textures a little bit more. People have freckles and things. Man, there's a lot of just subtle experiments and improvements going on overall. I wish I would have stuck with that shadow shapes thing though, because that felt like it was going really in the right direction. Okay, that's like a PewDiePie logo. That's not allowed to be here. I don't know if what art that's based on. But anyway, we got some Mega Man characters, Mega Man Zero characters, something like that. What else? There is nothing inside you. Well, that's kind of depressing. I shouldn't be writing that. This was apparently a bad page because I seem very upset with myself, which is very common. You make a bad page and you're just frustrated. What is wrong with this horrible Slowby face? But, you know, it's not like I gave up. So I came back the next day and just kept drawing and things hopefully got a little better. Ooh, that's not a good face. That is not at all a good 3/4 face. I wish there was someone like me around back then to teach free YouTube videos. But then again, YouTube wasn't a thing back when these were made. Anatomy basics, that's good. Going back to skulls, I think that's very useful. My skulls still look a little wonky though. I can tell the jaws are off. They're way too small. Even when I drew one, I should have studied the reference better because the jaw is looking a little diminished. Okay, more studies. These look like fighting game characters. Ooh, Final Fight, that's Guy. So, yeah, once again, studies. Anytime you have a bad art day, or like a couple bad art days, and feels like drawings aren't going your way, and maybe you're a little frustrated, personally, I always found it very helpful to just do a couple quick studies. They help boost your confidence just by giving you something a little better to look at. Then when you see it in your sketchbook, you're like, okay, I understand. My muscles are capable of making art. Now it's just a matter of my brain getting into it and making something that I find appealing. Here's a nice little reference to Kuma and Dalsum. I think those are from like Capcom versus SNK. Who knows? There's a Mai, so it must be. Good old Mai. That's a great character. Just a bunch of boobs jiggling around. Some original nonsense. I think I was trying to make a female Ryu and Ken. Oh, that's kind of lame. Oh, I remember this guy's sketchbook. This was a great sketchbook. This one inspired me a ton. I loved all of his designs. I can't remember the name. I'm sorry. That's disappointing. But yeah, conceptart.org was so amazing. You just don't know. You don't understand, guys. You guys grow up in the Twitter age and Instagrams. There's no more conceptart.org with all the professionals sharing all their work and talking to each other. But anyway, Hook Guy, that's definitely not mine. That's based on something else. Gun Girl, pretty sure that one's mine because it looks a little awkward, and I think I remember just coming up with that dumb stuff. So, I can't read. Show some emotion. That's good advice. I think I was feeling like every face I was drawing was looking a bit too lifeless, like a lot of these. Well, anyway, the ones where I was really trying to come up with them, they all have the same lifeless expressions. What else do we got? More slopey faces. Hey, I know this gentleman here. I remember. So this was made when Ken Jennings was kicking butt on Jeopardy. You guys remember that? Of course not, because it was over 10 years ago. But he was really good on Jeopardy, so I drew him a couple times because I like to watch Jeopardy. But that's I can identify it, so I guess it wasn't that bad. These are definitely very different, but they at least remotely captured a likeness. Hey, is this Feng Zhu? This looks like Feng Zhu. I don't know if it's Feng Zhu or not, but it looks like Feng. I'm guessing it's Feng Zhu because this is definitely around the time where I really started studying Feng Zhu stuff. I think I got his DVDs. Yeah, this looks like it's kind of trying to implement stuff I was learning from his DVDs about mech design and environment design. More studies. These look like some slightly Feng Zhu type girls. I can tell because of their hips. They have those Feng Zhu hips. Maybe. Maybe it is. I don't really know. Back to weirder stuff. Back to some original stuff. Couple copies, but mostly original stuff on these pages. Boring. A couple original characters. So the original characters are starting to look a little better, I feel like. This was an original one, and I was really proud of it at the time, but looking at it now, I can tell that just the overall messing of shapes and the forms kind of don't flow that well. Could have been more exaggerated. Could have looked a lot better. Could have been posed better. Obviously, I didn't really understand muscles that well, so it's all just kind of gibberish, but, you know, sometimes that's fine. Let's see, more drawings of photos of people I know, and what else? More characters. It's okay. It's not horrible, but it's just really stiff and awkward. What else we got? Couple studies. Hey, that's the guy from, I want to say, Ninja Scroll. I think he's like the B guy from Ninja Scroll. Must have seen that movie around that time or something. I always like reading stuff. I'm sorry, I get sidetracked by reading all the interesting things in sketchbooks. Things to focus on. Gestures, expressions, clothing, armor, weapons, vehicles, appliances. That's a weird thing to say. Why would I focus on appliances? Anyway, looks like a couple studies of like armor, both historical and sci-fi. Trying to experiment around with making my own armors. That's not looking that great. But what's on this page? It looks like I just went back to faces and girls and weird outfits again. Oh well. Industrial design at this time, I was experimenting, but man, these look terrible. This is where my industrial design skills started, so I can relate to a lot of people that start out in industrial design for the first time, and it's really tricky. And a lot of their stuff will start to look like this, kind of weirdly shaped. You didn't quite have the proper shape language just yet. Things look a little messy, a little uninteresting. Same thing goes for environments. These are all looking a little boring, but you know, it's reasonably realistic. I feel like anytime you follow the basic guidelines that people know, which is just to set up a vanishing point and just make a bunch of stuff going into it, and maybe tilt the horizon a little bit. This one's tilted, this one's straight, this one's tilted. Just doing basic things like that will usually get a somewhat interesting result. Anyway, oh, that's I don't know, some weird bondage girl. That's too much for us. I think this was from a book I had on different stances for like sword fighting or something, which is a very useful book to have, by the way. Not just because I'm a giant weeb at the time, but yeah, it turned out to be very useful for art stuff. You can see how it all ties back. I probably bought the books when I was like obsessed with putting ninja weapons all over my room, but then they turned out being super useful for art, so it all worked out in the end. Got some environments here. Once again, just wishing I was like the cool environment people on concept art. That's okay. Once again, anytime you just got single point or 2-point perspective, it's hard to make something that's not going to look okay. More studies, definitely comic book type people, studies of comic book artists. Those are kind of interesting. But what do we got here? Oh no, it's the villain. It's the Nazi samurai, undead Nazi samurai guy. What a horrible villain. I don't know. That's super lame and generic. Anyway, the rest of this design is pretty dumb. I feel like this part is based on a Craig Mullins, and then I was like, hey, I want to expand this into some other kind of stupid character. I can tell these ones are definitely not as strong as these ones, which are just based on different artists on conceptart.org. Is this a transition into pen? I'm glad. Now you'll actually be able to see things a little crisper and clearer because it's not pencil anymore, it's pen. Hopefully the pen trend continues from now on. But we got our more studies. My pen lines are just like scratchy, squiggly stuff all over the place. I don't really know what the method or thought process was with that, but, you know, I guess it's fine. So I noticed that when I switched over to pen, I started drawing a lot smaller, so I really messed things up, because for a video it would be great if things were in pen and big, so they were dark and easy to see, but now that they're dark, everything's all tiny and scratchy, so they're just hard to see again. So still, ooh, look at that, that's a still slopey face, just the slopiest of slopey faces everywhere. But the mileage is going crazy, so thumbnails, trying to do what all the other cool artists were doing, making tons of thumbnails all the time, really focusing on improving design sense. So making a ton of thumbnails will eventually help shape your brain into understanding what makes appealing shapes work together. So that's the main benefit. You work on a lot of thumbnails, you'll understand shapes a little better. But anyway, we got more of the same. I feel like these last pages are very much looking all like the same thing. But this is our dumb character again. The girl with one eye and the guns. Naruto with guns girl. Oh, I remember this time. This was when I was really into hardcore pics. He was a great artist on conceptart.org. But he had this very angular approach to everything. So like this and this are definitely studies of his stuff. Possibly this one too. This looks like something he would do. So yeah, that one. What else we got? So I was trying to emulate him a little bit, trying to focus more on getting nice shapes that always went in one direction and kind of flowed a little bit. And that was really good. I learned a lot during this time about just shape presentation and graphical elements. So the nice thing about working in pen is I think I was drawing a lot more because you fill out pages pretty fast. You're not spending a lot of time just shading stuff. So you're getting a lot more done, and I feel like you're getting more mileage for every day you spend drawing. Yeah, these are definitely super hardcore Pix-inspired arts. So I could tell, being super kind of creative with how angular things are, not worrying too much. The hair is always a graphic element. That's one thing you should look for. Using hair as always a purely graphical element. Experimenting around with robots, some drone type stuff. Trying to learn environments, but more experimenting with mechanical stuff. I was feeling a little bit better about mechanical stuff. At least they're still way too crazy. That's the main problem. You really got to simplify, and I just didn't understand at that time. No one had really taught me how to simplify things into more basic shapes. I really got obsessed with rendering rocks for a while. But we got more thumbnails. Robots, all my shapes, I feel like they're getting a little bit better, a little bit more interesting. Still slopey face though. Man, those slopey faces just won't go away. I was mildly proud of this robot. At least I was understanding that the outer shapes should all have a distinct silhouette. So we got outer shapes and then an interior shape. And the interior shape is just way too busy, but use some markers, that's good. Got some drawings. These are definitely some drawings of friends. So some of these are based on photo references. Original characters. Oh, look at that stiff pose. This guy's just ready to be shot out of a cannon or something. That's not a good look. More zombie-looking people. A lot of robotic arms. I guess I was into robotic arms at the time. Yeah, these shapes, though, I didn't quite get graphical shapes just yet, but I'm glad that there's a lot of experimenting with using them for industrial design. It's getting a little closer. In my brain, something must have been clicking just a little bit. Alright, what do we got? Skull pin sketch. Still a little wonky on the head, I can tell. Because when I draw a head over here, it's still way too slopey on the chin. No one has a chin. What's wrong with me? Anime. That's what's wrong with me. Work harder. San Fran in January. Oh, this is great. So it's slowly leading up to when I went to the conceptart.org workshop thing. So that's good. That's where we're building to. This is like the rush as I'm building up and trying to get really focused on art. So I think I was just cranking out page after page, probably multiple pages every day for a long time. That's not original. That's not original, but that's pretty interesting. I just like looking at them. The rest is mostly original, though. What day is it, slacker? Now my hand hurts. I don't know. I was being pretty tough on myself to draw every day. Oh, here's a full screen illustration. We got all these little rocks. I remember just spending probably an hour just rendering out little rock details, and I don't know why, but I was really having fun with those. They're not that appealing in hindsight. Well, they're a little appealing. They're kind of interesting, but it definitely could have been done in a different, better way. This design is definitely not very energetic, and the tangents going on, that's a really unfortunate tangent. Oh well, I didn't understand tangents yet, to be honest. I didn't understand things like that. But at least I was exploring graphical shapes. I kind of like just blocking in black values here and there and negative spaces. Really getting more creative, more comfortable with exploring. This guy has no head. It's like just a little domey thing. Oh well. Any interesting details on this page? Not really. No, it's okay. It's fine. Slow improvements over time, over each day, maybe slowly grasping a new concept each time. I just wish I would get better at the slopey faces. That would have really just been great. Alright, different helmets. We got some weird faces. Unhappy with these hands. I was really just down in myself over hands, and I should be, because what is going on with this hand? That is like a lobster hand. Okay. This looks a little more, yeah, once again, very hardcore pics. This is definitely a hardcore pic study. I remember him doing this girl with the hand and stuff, so some definite hardcore pic studies to get me back through the slump of drawing bad. So it looks like some photo study. That's reasonably more realistic than the rest of the stuff I've been doing. Exploring thumbnails for mechanical things. Not the best. I don't know, these legs are just way too skinny. You gotta experiment, you gotta make mistakes, gotta crack a few eggs to make an omelet. All that good advice. Still suck at helmets. I think to this day I still suck at helmets. Oh, that hurts. The notes, the 10-year-old notes, they hurt. What else we got? Prostate, you improve so fast. Wow, I'm writing notes to other artists in my brain, in my sketchbook. The other artists will never see it, but I'm writing little love letters to them. I think a couple of these were definitely studies of, apparently, prostate sunrise. This looks like a Marco Djurjevic type thing, because he's got that logo. Robotic arms again. This is Flaptraps. Flaptraps is a star. Once again, writing love notes for other artists in my own sketchbook. I think I was doing a couple studies of his things, because he had these really cool elements going on. Nice and graphical. You need to get addicted to art. Hard effing core. Eat, sleep, breathe art. That's good advice. I think I was really getting into those other concept artists, and I was just going like, man, I really want to be as good as these guys, so I'm just going to get as hardcore as I can. And for the next, like, full year, this is when I probably improved the most, or especially for, like, the next 6 months, starting from, like, around this area, where I was just like, oh, you need to be as hardcore as you can. So this sketchbook is probably coming to an end. Some weird Hell Knight guy, that's a little over-designed. I assume it's original because the tangents are just terrible, and no professional artist would make tangents that bad. But it looks like the Red Sox won. I don't know why I was doing art for that. I don't even like the Boston sports teams. Boston people. I guess that was the current events at the time. You can trace this back and know when this happened. But here's some good original stuff, some studies of hands, some original ideas going on, and most importantly, look at this page. This was a really study-heavy page. I decided I was going to go hardcore with art, so we got this whole rib study done in ballpoint pen. Little tiny details. I don't think these will show up, but there's such little tiny hatching things going on in all of this stuff. Look at these tendons and whatever else. All these ligaments. I wouldn't say wasted. Okay, I really spent a long time on this page trying to really focus in. This skull finally doesn't have a slopey forehead and chin, so maybe that's a good sign. I doubt it. I don't think I picked up on it. But at least the skull is very straight in the front. Oh, you know what? Actually, this face does look a lot more straight in the front, which is great. Maybe I did start learning something finally. But a little more exploration. Started playing with brush pen, working on just focusing on light and value and not really caring about making lines for everything. So once I started doing faces like this, where it's just shadow forms and not really focused on any detail, I feel like my art started to get a little better as well. So harsh lighting tests. Ooh, this one's got a nice underlighting. Trying to focus on being more like a painter. So that was working out okay. I like some of that stuff. This was probably studies, but Still looks kind of fun. There's some Master Shake just thrown in there. Don't know why. A couple more stuff. This looks like a Marco Georgievic. Yeah, these are a couple Marco Georgievic type studies. Just really trying to do studies. Ooh, we got some World War II planes. A little antelope or something. Really trying to push myself here. This is the last page. We're just done with this thing. Studying some tanks, some aircraft. Did I have any closing notes on this one? Let's see. 1 year to fill one sketchbook. Week. That's what I told myself. It took me 1 year apparently to fill this sketchbook, so way too long, although these pages are very dense, so I guess it's not that bad. So this was definitely a pretty solid improvement over the course of 1 year. Just looking back at this original stuff versus, I don't know, anything near the end. It's definitely a big change in quality. But the next sketchbook is also going to be a big jump in quality. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope this video wasn't too boring and long. But in the next sketchbook, we'll be going to San Francisco and starting a sketch group and really cranking up our art skills and working hard every day to improve. I'm hoping you're enjoying these videos. This one's probably not as silly or embarrassing. Well, it's still pretty embarrassing, but maybe not as embarrassing as the first one. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this, and a big shout out and thank you to all of my wonderful Patreon supporters. I'll keep putting sketchbook pages up there as well. Alright, thanks for watching.